What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victor Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcast. Come on into the room. And as you come into the room, let me know who you are, where you're from, what team you represent, who you are, where you're from, what team you represent. Because I have an interesting story that happened to me over the last couple of days. And I haven't done a live show in a few days. So yeah, what's up, Jay Virtue? Shout out to Jay Virtue. Soul Khan, what's going on, Soul Khan? And hit that thumbs up button too as you come in, by the way. And we're gonna have a call-in show. I'm gonna throw the call-in number up there here in a second. But I have an interesting story. It's interesting. To say it's kind of cool, right? Because I had a conversation with Ed Reed. Yes, Ed Reed. Watch what's going on, James Harris. Yes, Ed Reed. Watch the video that I did, a video that I was in with Dr. Watkins, and he was interested in what he saw, and he had to do some things. And I'm only willing to talk about this and what's going on, Ted and Rayshawn and Southbound. What's going on, everybody? And I'm only willing to talk about this because Ed kind of spoke about it. Ed spoke about it publicly. He didn't speak about me specifically. I'm not that important. But he did talk about reaching out to a few folks that were covering the news about him and Bethune-Cookman. And one of those people were me, happened to be me. So let's sit back, relax, buckle up your seatbelts, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll be right back after the bumper. Stay tuned. What's happening, everybody? Oh, y'all piling on into the room. I'm reading the comments. Hit that thumbs up button. What's going on? HBCU breaking through. What's going on, Greg Smith? Anthony, how's it going? Ziggy Love, how's it going? If you want to see your comments, go ahead and leave them in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button. I'll add the call-in number in a second. But I want to talk about something. So I was at home. I was at my mother's house, actually. I was hanging out with my mom, and I had this notification that popped up on my phone, right? Like it was a notification I just did not expect to have. And it was this one. I want to show you guys. It was a few days ago, and I've waited a few days to talk about this, but it was this one. This is what popped up on my phone a few days back. It was a tweet directly from Ed Reed, and he mentioned Dr. Boyce Watkins and myself, and it just said, "I care." And I was like, whoa. And I sent it to Dr. Boyce. And if you guys don't know, I talk to Dr. Boyce. He's like family. I talk to him pretty regularly. And I was like, yo, Doc, did you see this? Because he don't ever see stuff on Twitter. I always have to send it to him, especially when it's people mentioning him or mentioning me and him. I always have to send it to him. I was like, yo, Doc, did you see this? Pretty crazy. And even he was kind of like fascinated, like, yo, Ed mentioned us. So all what I took from this was, because he mentioned both Dr. Watkins and myself, it's like he must have saw the video that me and Dr. Watkins did, and me and Dr. Boyce did a video about Ed Reed, and it's done pretty well. It's gotten, I can show you the video. Some of you may have seen it. Let me know in the chat if you've seen it. But this is a video I posted on my channel about Ed Reed dissecting the situation with Dr. Watkins. It's about a week ago now. It's got about 20,000 views, right? 20,000 views, 700 likes. Shout out to the 700 y'all that have liked the video. It's up on my page right now if you want to go see it. And me and Dr. Watkins was talking to all things Ed Reed. He was saying his opinion. I was saying mine. 400 comments, by the way. So some of you guys may have seen it, may have not. And Dr. Watkins is kind of hard on Ed. I was saying, like, he was kind of hard on Ed. And I gave my perspective on both sides, right? And at the end of it, I asked Dr. Boyce, I said, yo, Dr. Boyce, if you were running an HBCU, hey, and shout out to Jamal, you've seen it, Trap Music seen it, shout out to you guys, first impressions matter, yes, and he messed up, he did messed up, and he admitted that, and I'll tell you about our conversation here in a second. But anyway, at the end of the video, I asked Dr. Watkins, what's going on, Kendall? Shout out to the 06 to the good bros, by the way. I asked him, I said, if you were running an HBCU football team, would you allow Ed Reed to run your football team? And Dr. Boyce said no, emphatically. He was like, no. And he gave off a list of reasons why, right? And he gave up a bunch of reasons why. And I was like, and then I flipped it on myself. He asked me, and I said, yeah, I would let Ed Reed run my team. And I kind of told my piece, right? And so Ed saw the video. Like, I know he saw the video. He actually told me. And so I'm going to go back to the tweet. Ed Reed put out this tweet. And shortly after he put out this tweet, I don't know if you guys know, but me and Ed Reed already follow each other. We follow each other from some interactions we had a year ago, like a year ago this time, when it was the reports out that he turned down the Grambling job, which he's mentioned since, by the way. So he's kind of confirmed that he turned that down. And me and him shot some messages back and forth back then, but it was a year ago. I haven't talked to Ed Reed since then. He actually followed me back then. And so shortly after he sent this tweet, Ed Reed actually DM'd me. They actually DM'd me. And I was, you thought I was turned about the tweet. I was turned, 06 to the good bros, by the way. If you any alphas in here, shout out to y'all, man. 06 to the good bros. But I was turned, I had a good alpha, man, send me an email today that was awesome. And if something comes of it, I'm going to bring that up. We'll have a different story time about that. But anyway, he sends me a DM after this tweet. And in the DM, I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'll tell you. He basically was saying, yo, you spoke nicely of me, essentially, but you still got some things wrong. And I was like, okay, I'm all above. I'm not above criticism. He's like, you made some valid points, but you got some things wrong. And if you haven't seen the video, I'm going to give you some context. With Dr. Watkins, Dr. Boyce was saying, like, Ed Reed is used to these big white establishments, the University of Miami, the Baltimore Ravens, that have a big bunch of money. And he went to the black place, the black school, and he kind of put it down. And he thought that wasn't fair, right? He was like, you're used to these big white fancy establishments like the University of Miami, private school, hundreds of millions of dollars. The Baltimore Ravens, a multi-billion-dollar organization. And then, of course, if you go to Bethune-Cookman, it's not the same. You're not going to get what you get at the Baltimore Ravens. You're not going to get where you've been at the previous 4 years with the University of Miami. This is going to be a rebuilding job. And what Doc was getting at was, you just wouldn't have did that to the white man. And Ed was essentially defending himself to me, which I was shocked. I was like, yo, Ed, you got to defend yourself to me. I was a little YouTuber, you know what I'm saying? But he's like, no, like, I'm going to set it straight. Like, yeah, I did get money from the white man, and I did make millions of dollars, and I have been at these fancy establishments and whatnot. But the point of what he was saying to me was, the point of me saying what I said about Bethune wasn't about comparing them to the Baltimore Ravens, wasn't about comparing them to the University of Miami, wasn't about comparing or saying, man, they got it like this, we need to have it like that. No, it wasn't that at all. What he's saying was, it was inhumane. It's like them sharing helmets, kids having to wash their own clothes, kids having to do X, Y, and Z. That's not right for anyone. And he admitted, he said, yeah, I was unprofessional. Yeah, I should have did it a better way, but that doesn't take away my passion. And I was like, yo, you got a point. And I had to tell him, I was like, yo, yeah, I've been defending you this whole time. I can't speak for Dr. Boyce, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to Dr. Boyce. Like I said, that's my family. I'm always ride with him. But at the end of the thing, I was like, yo, I'd hire Ed Reed. And I've made videos since stating even more why I'd still hire Ed Reed as a head coach of an HBCU, specifically an HBCU. And so we chopped it up a little bit. I showed him my poll. I took a poll on Twitter that got over 2,800 votes about whether you would hire Ed Reed as your head coach. 2,800 votes is split right down the middle, with the majority voting yes, they would. I took another poll on YouTube that got 1,000 or so votes, 1,500 or so votes, and that was a little more skewed, saying with you guys saying y'all would still hire Ed. And I showed them all of that. I was like, yo, like this is what the people are saying, man. You're still a people's champ. Like the people still want to see you go to these establishments. And it's not just you all, because you all matter. And that is a big enough thing. Shout out to y'all. We got a couple hundred people. Hit that thumbs up button. But also, there's people in the background that still would have loved to see Ed. People, HBCU alums that would have loved to see Ed run that Bethune-Cookman thing. And he understood. Like, and that was the thing. I'm not going to read every single message because we talked we sit, it was through a DM. It was through messages. We would talk. And I asked him straight up. I said, yo, Ed, like with everything that's going on, man, with all the, backlash or criticism or whatever that you got for for the Bethune situation, I said, would you still want to work at, first I asked him if he still wanted to coach. He's like, yo, I was doing fine doing what I was doing which wasn't coaching. I was doing fine working at the University of Miami, doing the social media stuff with the 33rd team. So I was doing fine. But they asked me to coach, and it made sense. And what he means by it made sense was, Ed, if you guys don't know, Ed Reed has a son that's still in high school in the state of Florida. And so with the Bethune-Cookman job, it still allowed him to have access to his child who is in the state of Florida. And I said, yo, with everything that went down and knowing everything that you know now, would you still want to be a head coach of an HBCU? And he told me, said yes. He said yes, he would. And he still wants to coach now. But the situation has to be right. The situation has to make sense. And that was understandable. That was understandable because with someone that is at the magnitude that he is at, it does have to make sense. And the only reason why I'm even willing to speak about our conversation publicly is because he actually addresses it. He spoke about in a thing he did with the 33rd team, which is a social media, Twitter account, social media thing that he does. He spoke about addressing some of the commentators online. Now, this was after our exchange. But when you think about addressing the commentators, I'm thinking, you think you're talking about Shannon Sharp. You had that back and forth thing with Shannon Sharp for a little bit. But he's actually talking about dudes like me. Now, I can't speak for anybody else, but we had a really civil, great conversation. And at the end of the day, all Ed wants is what's best for the kids, what's best for the young men, what's best for the student athletes. And albeit he did not, and he admits it, he did not represent the university the way he should have. He didn't. And he admitted that, and he understands that there's a sense, and that was the only thing I ever said was that, I'm not saying everything he's saying is wrong, but there's a certain level of professional decorum. There's a certain level of professionalism that you must have when you take a job like that. And he understands all of that. But I was just thinking in my head, and shout out to Tyler, dog, do y'all know what Ed Reed could do for a university? Do y'all do people really understand? If you want to call in here, man, there's the number 727-731-8723. Do y'all understand that Ed Reed would have had millions of dollars flowing through that university? Now, to me, is firing Ed Reed making a statement like that by firing him and not necessarily firing him, not going forward with his contract negotiations? Is that worth the millions of dollars that I'm going to be losing by showing him the door? And in my perspective, even though what he did was wrong, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to me because I know this is something that I know. This is not hearsay. This is not what someone told me. This is what I know. I know there were people that were lining up to give Bethune-Cookman University, the Bethune-Cookman football team, a whole lot of money. A lot of money that they just simply won't see. Now, I'm not saying that they can't see, and I'm not saying that someone else can't bring in, but that wasn't being brought in presently. That wasn't being brought in presently. And that makes a difference. For a school that doesn't have showers and doesn't have a locker room for the football team, where the football team has to go wash their own damn clothes after games and practices, losing Ed to me wasn't worth losing that. And that's what me and him talked about. What's going on your own with Jeff? I just think it wasn't worth it. What's going on?
What's up, brother? How's it going?
Hey,
it's Jonathan Logan from Jackson State University.
Hey, how's it going, buddy? What's on your mind?
Good, man. Man, listen, man. I'm just listen. First of all, I really enjoy your show. Keep doing your thing, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Look, man. I listen on this Ed Reed deal, man. I really applaud what Ed tried to do. But at the end of the day, and again, this is my own personal feeling, man.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a professional who takes to social media like that, it's just a very bad look. And had Bethune-Cookman let that pass, I beg to say, man, that it would probably had continued on. That would not have been the last time that we've seen antics like that from Ed Reed.
That's understandable.
So I think that they did the right thing. And again, just when you get to a level like that, there's just certain things that you can't do. And unfortunately, Ed made that horrible mistake.
Absolutely, man. I understand what you're saying, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome, brother.
Hey, appreciate it. Be sure to call again. I appreciate you calling in. And that is true. Like, I mean, some things some people feel like are unforgivable. This is one thing that I think was forgivable. What's going on? You're on with
Gemini. This is Gemini from New Orleans.
What's going on, Gemini? What's on your mind?
If you follow Ed, you should know his heart.
Absolutely.
If you look at the videos that not only he put out, that the students put out, that university had no backing from the community because they turned their back on the community. Ed reestablished that. If you look at that video, I'm sorry, it's on 3 of them. It was a gentleman with a lawn care service, not a big one, a small one that go around the neighborhood. He came and cleared out exactly what Ed printed out, but he could not get the employees at the university to do. Now, number 2, 1.5 million was taken away out of the football program. That's when they was winning. So let's talk about before Ed got there. 1.5 is taken away. No one talk about that was under Reggie's watch. Number 3, Ed had his own donors because of his nonprofit.
Yes.
He still does his nonprofit here in Louisiana.
Yes.
So his donors was going to watch every penny because they wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up.
Absolutely.
The school, I'm sorry. Let me take a step back. Reggie was mad because the Ed donors wanted to have meetings with Ed, not with Reggie. Reggie been this way since the NBA. And if you follow him, he was like that all the way at Chicago. That's why him and Mike didn't get along. So when you follow history and just talk about history, you have to follow it from line to line to line. Ed literally had, for the 82 million that's missing, Ed had at least 15 coming in just for the football.
Tell me. 82 million. What is that? What do you mean 82 million that was missing? What do you mean by that?
82 mil over 6 years is missing out of BC's books. That's the story.
Is it? I don't know about that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just
no. They're saying the interim president is saying that the books are up. That's why the alumni was dissolved, because they was asking about the 68 mil, but then they found out it was another 13 above that.
Oof. Now, once again, this is, to me, that's speculation. What I would say, because we got some other calls and stuff, and I got some stuff on the show. But what I will want to say is, I do want to point out that it's like you do have some truth, and I'm not saying you're lying. First of all, I don't want to make that you're. I'm not saying that you're lying. No. I just don't want to speculate on certain things, because the saying that the books are all, I just don't know that. What I do know is what is public record. That alumni association you're talking about has been dissolved. I've seen that. I have said that is on record. The interim president Drake, he kind of confirmed that. The stuff about Reggie and saying he's jealous and stuff. I spoke with Harry. He didn't bring up some of that stuff. But what I will say is that him and Reggie ain't on the best of terms. And so if you're Team Ed Reed, a lot of times you're not Team Reggie Theus. And I don't really want to be that. I just don't know what the inner workings of that.
The student.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I gotta correct your articulation right there.
Okay.
I'm team students. The same thing Prime did at JSU, and I go to JSU.
Mm-hmm.
Before Prime and after Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now about to start traveling to Florida because of what the football players showed. It was, he's not trying to be the man. It is not that type of person. He really want to play the corner and not be noticed. Just that when you put him in a leading role, you can't put a leader in a leading role, then tell them don't say nothing.
I got you. Well, I appreciate you calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, I don't want to get into too much speculation. That's why I'm just telling you about the conversation that I had with Ed Reed. And in that conversation, he always focused it was all about doing what's best for the students. And I know some of y'all was saying, oh, speculation, please stop. Yeah, I don't want to get in too much into the weeds. Oh, Reggie was jealous. And I don't know about all that. I can't speak to all of that. All I can speak to is the conversation that I had and what we talked about. And I asked Ed, he said he still wants to coach one. So if your favorite HBCU ends up, or your favorite college program, not necessarily we talking about HBCUs because that's where I want them at, but it doesn't have to necessarily be an HBCU. Ed is willing to coach. Ed even told me he's willing to take an assistant job, right? Like he's willing to take maybe a position coach or a coordinator or whatever, but you're best served if Ed Reed comes in and is your head coach and you let him run that program and allow him to pour into that program. Now, like I said, I can't get into all that speculation stuff the gentleman was saying, but what he did say is something that Ed brought up to me as well, is that Ed does have a 501c3, which is his nonprofit, the Ed Reed Foundation. And with the Ed Reed Foundation, he has been able to do a number of things over the course of the last 20 years, including building a whole freaking park in his hometown in Louisiana. So that is something, once again, this is how I know Ed has connections. If you didn't already know, right? Like just from him being a Pro Football Hall of Famer, being one of the greatest defensive players ever to play this game, one of the greatest players, period, to ever play this game. Go look at the things that Ed has been able to do with his 501c3. Go look at some of the things Ed has been able to do with his foundation, the Ed Reed Foundation, and look at the lives he's been able to touch and impact and change through that. Do you not realistically think that he would be able to do the same thing as the head coach of a football program? Do you not? I mean, I'm telling y'all, I came on this program, on this very here show, with you guys speaking, and I said, yo, I think Ed Reed over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, if he was at Bethune-Cookman, could have got 5 to 10 million to that school easily. And then I got on, and then I spoke with him, and then I spoke with some other folks that understand the game. And I want to up that number. I think that number is probably closer to 15, 20 million. You don't think Bethune-Cookman could have used the shot in the arm of $15 to $20 million? You don't think the administrators of Bethune-Cookman, like, don't get me wrong. What Ed did was wrong. But are you willing to cut off your nose to spite your face? Meaning, you know the situation is inadequate. You know whether that's President Drake, interim, or maybe he didn't know it was that bad. I don't know. But this is a guy that can help change that. This is a guy that could have helped change your fortunes. This is a guy that really means well. At the end of the day, he means well. And to say that he doesn't, then you're just being facetious if you don't think Ed Reed meant well and still means well for those kids. I don't know. And that's the thing. There is a bigger picture to me. Cooley, I agree with you. There is a bigger picture. He's way more than this. He's way more than just recruiting. Now, that was going to uptick. They had 26 players ready to sign, ready to go. But he's going to bring in millions of dollars. And I'm just curious to see how you guys feel about it. What's going on? You're on with Jeff.
Dominic.
What's going on, Dominique? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just think that, well, first of all, big fan of your show.
Appreciate it.
But I think that, yeah, no problem. I think that HBCUs in general are just missing out on a huge opportunity. I know like BCU is different from Jackson State, but it seems like there's a heavy swarm of celebrity and highly status pro players that want to come back and make the SWAC and MEAC a big thing. And I feel like the infrastructure is going to have to change. So like if Ed Reed on another job, I feel like it has to be a program that's going to be willing for him to come in and give him the reins. And I think BCU just had so many problems that they wasn't allowed to do that.
Yeah, I think I'd see that. We got to be careful though, Dominique, because you said HBCUs and then you said BC. Every problem at BC isn't the same at every HBCU. And see, and that's the thing, and I've had to do this with myself because I don't come from HBCUs, but I think the general public, especially Black people, we have to be very careful because just like how every problem in one family isn't the same in every family, just because we all Black don't mean we all got the same problems. We have a lot of similarities, right? But everything that's a problem in your family, Dominic, isn't the same in mine, isn't the same in Tom, Dick, or Harry's, right? So we have to, like, that is the thing. Like, we do have to be careful in the language that we use. Now we can say, now BCU rather, has some really, really bad problems, like some infrastructural problems as far as just like I said, just the sheer fact that players were sharing helmets and don't have a locker room on campus and don't have showers and washers and dryers. That's a big problem, right? Especially when you're talking about athletes. It's not just football. I mean, there's multiple athletes that sweat and that are injured, that do all kinds of stuff, that pass in germs, and they have to wait until they get home to shower or wait until they get home to wash their own, and they're washing their own stuff. But that's not the issue everywhere, right? Those issues aren't that at Jackson State or at FAMU or at Southern. Not to say that they don't have their own problems, but it's not the same as those. I think we do have to be careful when we do those type of things.
One last question. You think there's one program out there that does have the infrastructure for a big name to come through, like whether it's Howard or – so I don't think there's a school out there that could do that yet.
There's a ton of schools. I mean, well, I appreciate your call, but there's a ton of schools. I mean, we just saw Jackson State. We just saw Jackson State integrate Dion, and it was no problem. I mean, it was a hand in glove fit. Now, obviously, Dion came in and added his flavor to the program, added his sponsors, added his people, and it worked. It worked so much they didn't lose a conference game in 2 years. It worked so much that Dion never came out and outwardly spoke out against Jackson State until he was headed out the door. It worked so much that, I mean, the people in Jackson, I don't think people understand. They heard some of those comments that Dion made, that Prime made on his way out the door. And I got an interesting story about Dion, too. And I might tell, forget it, I'm going to tell it on here. Well, y'all love y'all. We in here deep. Hit that like button. I'm going to tell my Dion story, too. I might as well, since I'm talking about how I talked to Ed Reed. Deion Sanders sent me a message, too. But unlike Ed was actually really happy with some of the things that I said about him, and we talked, we chopped it up, and it was good. Deion wasn't so happy about. So if you guys don't know, it's just story time. Why not? If you guys don't know, it's been a while since it happened. I mean, it's been like a week or so since it happened. But just like I did the video over Ed with Dr. Boyce Watkins, I did a video about Deion's daughter, Deandra. When she was lying about Jackson State, it was around that time. And I guess Deion either saw my video or he saw a tweet that I put out. He saw one of the two. I don't know which one it was, but he saw one of the two and he wasn't happy. He was not happy. And he sent me a very long message talking about how he wasn't happy about the things that I said or didn't say about his daughter. And he sent me a long message. And to sum it up, it was a lot of the things that she said in her apology video. It was more along the lines of her being my daughter. She's privy to information that the public may not be privy to. And someone said this is not cap. I have no reason to lie to you. I have absolutely no reason. This is not cap. He sent me a message. I don't know. And so, long story short, he was basically saying, she's privy to information that maybe I'm not privy to by being his daughter. I responded and said, yo, you felt offended, my bad, but a lie is going to get called out. And the good folks at Jackson State love Deion. They literally worship the ground he walked on. They love Prime. And so for him to say the things he said out the door, for his daughter to say those things, that wasn't fair. That was wrong. And, it is what it is. And we left it at that. If you want to call in, 727-731-8723, 727-731-8723. I'm going to play the video. The only reason why I felt comfortable sharing the Ed Reed information is because he did he did put this video out. He did address the things that that some of the things that he was saying. And this is what he had to say. This is via the 33rd team on Twitter. And this was Ed and what he had to say about his time and or lack thereof time at Bethune-Cookman.
Inspired, for me as an analyst, for me as a coach. I talk to my youngsters about making decisions and being smart about what they do on social network. I put myself in a position, and I put players in a position where it affects us all, as I think, in a bad manner. Even
Internet.
in the University of Bethune-Cookman, though, there are things that needs to be changed and fixed, and that's what we were about. I also talked about professionalism, which that's what a man would stand on. A man make mistakes, and you stand on those mistakes, that you make. You take your lick, as I told my kids, as I told the young men on the team, you take your lick, and you keep it moving. We're a forgiving world to some things. It really comes down to understanding who you are, knowing who you are, and being true to yourself, being true to your cause, your purpose, and standing by these young folk. I know I may have used some language out there, but you've heard worse. I know you have, just on radios and just on TVs. Just the other day, I watched a young man pass away right on my phone. So we're living in different times, man. It's 2023. We're not the old ways, so to say, man. Like, things are clear as day. People feel attacked, because they feel like I came from somewhere that seems to be better suited, for students. And that's not the case.
I think in that moment where he talked about I came from somewhere that's better, I think that's when he was talking about, like, with Dr. Watkins, like, yo, he came from Miami, he came from Baltimore. That ain't the same as Bethune. I think he's referencing that in that part. That's just me assuming. I don't know, but let's keep listening.
I know I'm kind of rambling, man, but it's so much that I really want to say. There's really so much that needs to be said. But at the end of the day, I will hope that all of our hearts are just about helping people. Because ultimately, that's all I'm about, all I wanted to do, all I'm here to do. Is help people. I just feel like sometimes the communication from all of us is not said properly, and I didn't attack people. I ain't gonna say I attack people or people think I'm beefing with people, but, there's a lot of people who work in this industry as analysts. And they report what they want to. So if you reported it wrong, especially coming with my situation, that's why I was not attacking, but hitting them up on Twitter or saying stuff to them, because they was reporting the wrong thing about me. So that's what it comes down to, man. I really wish the best for everybody. I wish the best for the university, the people working there, just to get it right and fix it.
And when he said he was hitting them up, he was hitting them up. He meant that. Hey, shout out to you guys, man. Hit that thumbs up button, by the way. So yeah, man, that's just how. Oh, we got some callers. Sorry about callers. I had you waiting. What's going on? You're on with Jeff.
Good evening. My name is Mark. I'm calling from Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, what's going on, Mark? What's on your mind?
Oh man, I love your show. Your podcast is just excellent. I follow you since last football season.
I appreciate it, Mark.
Yes, sir. Listen, my concern with BCU, I played football in college way back in the 70s. I was one of the first black football players at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. Anyway, my concern, and I graduated from grad school from Jackson State University. I'm a retired educator. But my concern with a BCU program is that maybe they should consider dropping the football team until they become more financial. I know they might not want to do that, but is that an option if the allegations are true about the lack of safe conditions for the athletes, not just football, but other athletes?
Are you saying at Bethune-Cookman?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the students had a protest. I mean, you can make of that what you want. The students did have a protest, and during the protest, they wanted to overthrow the board of trustees. And so, like I said, I mean, I don't live in Daytona. I don't attend Bethune-Cookman. I never attended Bethune-Cookman. And so, but there are problems like that. Like those students just didn't galvanize just off the simple fact that they fired a football coach. They galvanized because there is something wrong there. Right, like there. I mean, and it sounds like there's a lot of wrong there. They've had multiple interim presidents over the last few years. They suffered 2 hurricanes over the last year. So there's some infrastructural problems there that is taking place, and that a lot of folks are trying to get fixed. And Ed was one person that was trying to get help alleviate some of those problems. He just kind of went about it probably in the wrong diplomatic way.
So do you think that the problems are more financial or just administrative, lack of leadership? Which is the greater problem, the lack of leadership or the finances?
Yeah, I mean, it could be on both ends, man. I appreciate you calling in, but it could be on both ends because the thing is, if you have bad leadership, then even with all the money in the world, you're going to do something wrong. If you don't have any money, you can have the best leadership, and you're still going to have significant problems. I think it could be a balance of both. I mean, we're talking about a university that almost lost its accreditation just a few years ago. We're talking about a university that's had, I think, 2 interim presidents over the course of the last, 3 or 4 years, right? So that sounds like a problem up top. Now, hopefully they're able to situate some of these things, but it's going to be a long process for them. Something that someone as a football head coach is going to have to deal with as well. And I appreciate you calling in, though.
Yeah. One more question.
Yeah, talk to me.
One question. I'd like to know, do you think it'd be a wise idea, a good idea for the SWAC commissioner and the SWAC office to consider, or the other institution consider giving financial assistance to help bail out one of the SWAC members? Now, I'm going to hang up to you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you calling in. That is something that I'm sure that those people, that's above my pay grade. I talk mostly sports, but when it comes to things like that, that's something that maybe somebody should ask Commissioner McClellan. I have no idea how that goes, but I mainly talk sports. That is way above, anything that I do on this channel. What's going on? You're on with Jeff. Hello. Oh, okay. I guess I lost your caller. Can't hear you anyway. But yeah, man. So yeah, if you want to call in here, you can get in here. I see our PWIs accredited. I mean, yeah, HBCUs are accredited too. Like, what are we talking about? BCUs are private. HBCU, they don't have to be transparent. They don't. That is very true. And that's the same with private PWIs. Ed Reed's delivery was straight gangster, but was grounded in facts. Yeah, but at the same time, you still have to be diplomatic. I get that, but you have to be diplomatic. That's just a part of the problem. Bethune-Cookman will be okay. I believe they will be. But it is going to take a groundswell of people to continue to help the university to get where they need to be. He's rather coherent. This is funny because a lot of people, and that was the thing Ed also said in our conversation. He's like, yo, people making me seem like I'm crazy. Like I haven't been running this successful nonprofit for 20 years, right? Like I'm not a successful millionaire businessman, right? Like I didn't play all of these years in the NFL and made millions. And he didn't say this. He said some parts of this. I'm just adding to it. But it's like, yo, I know what I'm doing in the business game, and I know what I'm doing on the football field. I'm not crazy like these people trying to make me seem. And I was like, yo, I know you're not. That's why I said I would still hire you if I was anywhere. Like any HBCU with the head coaching opening. Now, I think they're all filled for this offseason. But anyone because there's going to be a few that pop open next year, I would give Ed Reed a call. Because Ed Reed can change a lot on the field and off the field. These students were fighting for Ed. He's not coming back to BCU, and that is what it is. But they were fighting for him for a reason. They saw the change. The bulldozers were on campus, ready to build a practice field, ready to extend the training facility, ready to do like wholesale changes to that football program. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't able to happen. Ed Reed isn't a role model to anyone but himself. This is not true, Betty. Like, this just simply isn't true. There's kids on Bethune-Cookman's campus right now that'll tell you something different. There's kids in the city of Miami that'll tell you something different. There's kids in the city of Baltimore that'll tell you something different. And grown people. It ain't just kids. It's grown people, too, that tell you something different in the city of Baltimore, in the state of Louisiana, in the state of Florida, in the city of Miami. Like, so this just ain't true. I can tell you a lot. I might tell you a joke. I won't tell you a lie. That just simply ain't true. That is simply not true. So yeah, man, that's all. I just wanted to share my little quick story about talking to Ed Reed. It was a pleasure. I hope I get to talk to him again, just about some of the cool things that he ends up doing in the future, and especially because he's gonna be somebody coach. Ed is going to be, someone is going to take a chance on Ed after the messages shot back and forth between me and him. Someone's going to take a chance on Ed, and it's going to be one of the best decisions they ever make, because I think Ed Reed can really, really, really make a difference. The kids need, like, oh my God, like just when I really think that once Ed gets that shot, whoever that brave president, because it's going to take a lot at this point, because there was damage that was done at BCU, and it wasn't, there's damage done, and it's going to take a brave president. It's going to take a brave AD and a brave board of trustees, but someone's going to take a chance on Ed Reed, and I think it's going to be one of the best decisions they could ever make, because I do think Ed Reed, especially if it's an HBCU, I really do, Ed Reed can really come in and make a major, major impact. And I can't wait to see it. And I'm just willing to, I'm just wanting to see the show, man. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the product that he's able to put on the field. But more so than that, after shooting some messages back and forth with him, I can't wait to see this young men that come from his program. I can't wait to see the young men, the lives that he's able to impact by being himself and by doing the things that he's been doing for the better part of 20 years. And a lot of people just can't say that. I appreciate you enjoying the show. Thank you guys so much. Be sure. I'll take any last phone calls. If you want to call in, go in, call in. But be sure they suspended. So yeah, and I did see this. I didn't like this. This wasn't cool to me. So there was a young man. On the team. His first name was Austin. And he was a staunch supporter of Coach Ed Reed. And he was, videotaping the protest. He was going on different platforms. He went on Roland's platform. He went on Doc Holliday's platform. He went on a couple other platforms speaking about the problems that were taking place at Bethune. And he was really rallying for Ed Reed. And from what I understand, Ed put it out there that they suspended him. That's not a good look. That wasn't cool. I didn't like that. I was not for that at all. And I hope that they rescind that suspension. I hope there's enough public pressure from me and other folks to say, hey, man, Austin's a kid, man. You can't suspend a young man just for speaking out about what's taking place at this university. If you don't want him speaking out, fix the stuff. Get it fixed. Don't serve him food with mold. Food, not just the dorm. We understand there's mold in dorms all across this country. But one time it was mold in the dorm rooms I stayed in at Western Kentucky University. It happens. But food, bread with mold, yeah, that's a problem, G. That's a problem. And there's not a problem with speaking out against that. That's not, it's not a problem with a kid speaking out against it. It's not a problem with a kid going on different platforms, no matter how big or how small, speaking his truth. So there's that. I don't know. I don't know. It is what it is. But hit that thumbs up button. Hit that like button. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at JLightsy7. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at JLightsy7. Thank you, guys. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. This was a conversation. This was a story time about a conversation I had with Coach Ed Reed. It was really, really cool. I think we got one more caller. I'll get on before we get out of here that I had with Coach Ed Reed. And it was really, really lovely. What's going on, caller? You're on with Jeff.
Zindua Tambuzi.
What's going on? What's on your mind?
How you been? I've been
all right.
I just want to say the first thing, I love what you're doing and I love your flow. That's the first thing.
Well, I appreciate you.
Second thing is Bethune-Cookman has done more for enshrining Ed Reed than football ever did as an institution, because people who knew the game knew him. But now people all over the world will always know him because he's the one that cracked the top open for the decadence going on in Bethune-Cookman. That's the first thing that's fantastic for him, because he's always going to be known. He's on the Mount Rushmore transforming Black university. Dion kind of opened it up a little bit, Prime did, but he broke it open. And in him breaking it open, it's going to always remember, because they cannot escape the impact he done had on them. You know, Reggie Theus can't go under the desk deep enough now. It's done. And so he's had that kind of impact, that Colin Kaepernick impact he's had. The other thing is I just think that it's only a matter of time that it's going to help him as a leader. See, he's a heavy brother. Brother told me this when I was in grad school once. He said, there's a difference between a heavy brother and a leader. He said, you're a heavy brother, Tambuzi, but there's a difference between that and a leader. He's a heavy brother. A leader can suit up and lead people who are conservative as well as radical. A heavy brother is people who are admired, but don't nobody want to touch them. And he's going to have to learn how to make the transition from being a heavy brother to a leader in order for him to get swept up like Prime does. Prime is a leader. He's a heavy brother. And that's what we've got to be able to find out, how to snatch him into the right spaces so that the grooming, not necessarily external grooming, but it's grooming on the inside, so he got a poker face while he's doing what he does. That's what I want to say for the day.
Hey, I appreciate it, Mr. Tambuzi, man. You have a good rest of your night. I appreciate you.
Okay, appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And Mr. Tambuzi brought up a good thing, because, and I'll say this and I'll get out of here. Ed Reed, you can say what he did was wrong, whatever. He's not going to be the head coach of Bethune-Cookman. But what did come from the Ed Reed, they had a town hall where they brought in their former players, the president and the player, they got to talk. Who knows if that would have happened if there was no Ed Reed? They also has said they're going to address the locker room situation. And Reggie Theus himself said in that video that they're going to pour $3 million into the football program to get adequate locker rooms and to get adequate washers, dryers, and things like that, adequate equipment. $3 million. Now, where he's getting that $3 million from, I have no idea. Why that $3 million wasn't invested into the football program before all of this ruckus and chaos, I have no idea. But sometimes making a big deal and making a lot of noise about stuff gets stuff done. And now all of a sudden, athletic director Reggie Theus, President Drake, interim President Drake, they now want to put $3 million into their athletics and get them the adequate stuff that they need. That I don't see that as a bad thing. That's a good thing. Would that have happened if Ed Reed didn't make a ruckus? Would that have happened if there wasn't so much pressure by people with platforms like Roland Martin and others, or the public at large, or the protest that took place by the students at Bethune-Cookman? Would all of this have happened? I just don't know. I just don't know if it would have. But what I do know is that Reggie Theus said, hold him to that. He said, all of those things will be implemented by the fall, and you can hold me to it. Well, damn it, I'm going to hold him to it. I'm going to hold him to it because that's what he said. So there's that. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We had a good show tonight. It wouldn't have happened. Hey, some people feel like it wouldn't have. Dana, a lot of people feel that same way. Thank you guys so much. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Once again, my name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to like that, but hit that like button. It's National Signing Day. I wanted to mention this before I get out of here too. Tomorrow's National Signing Day. We're gonna have a good, dope National Signing Day show. We're gonna talk about the SWAC teams, who's the winners and losers of National Signing Day, who have the best SWAC recruiting classes of National Signing Day. Jackson State, FAMU, bringing in a whole lot of people. Don't sleep on the Braves. Alcorn going crazy on the trail, where it's very quiet on the southern end of things. Southern's really quiet. Some other schools are kind of quiet. Grambling doing some nice things. And so all of that's going to be cool to talk about tomorrow on the National Signing Day stuff too. So be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Somebody said Colorado too. Guess we have to tune in and see. Hit that thumbs up button. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you next time. Peace.